Introduction. You must have this charm to reach the pinnacle. It is made of everything and of nothing. The striving will, the look, the walk, the proportions of the body, the sound of the voice, the ease of the gestures. It is not at all necessary to be handsome or to be pretty. All that is needful is charm. Sarah Bernhardt. Fully 85% of your success in business and personal life will be determined by your ability to communicate effectively with others. Social intelligence, or the ability to interact, converse, negotiate with, and persuade others, is the most highly paid and respected form of intelligence you can have, and this intelligence can be developed. You can learn to be a warm, friendly, likable, and charming individual just by practicing some of the communication methods and techniques used by the most influential and effective people in our world today. The secrets of great communicators are not secrets at all. They are simply proven methods of interacting with others in a way that makes them open to you and receptive to your message. As a result, they are more willing to be influenced by you, to buy from you, to enter into business and personal relationships with you, and to think of you in positive terms. Your ability to be charming, to be a genuinely likable and pleasant person, will likely open more doors for you than any other quality. The more people like you and think of you warmly, the more they will want to see you, listen to you, be in your presence, and invite you into theirs. In the hundreds of speeches we've given and to the thousands of people we've trained, we have repeatedly said, the most valuable commodity in the world isn't gold or diamonds, it's charm. Your reputation, how people think and talk about you when you are not there, is your most valuable personal and professional asset. It is the sum total of the impression you make on others when they spend time in your presence. By learning the simple truths about charm and practicing the techniques that follow, you can dramatically improve the effectiveness and enjoyment of your interactions with all others, starting with your family and extending to everyone you meet. You will be more successful, earn more money, get promoted faster, make more sales, prevail in more negotiations, and be more persuasive and influential with everyone you meet.
Chapter 1. What is charm? When John F. Kennedy flashed his smile, he could charm a bird off a tree. Seymour St. John. Listen to the description of charm by someone who did not expect it and may have been resistant to its effect before succumbing. He projected a totally in-the-moment focus on each person he met. He exuded warmth. He seemed a man genuinely interested in liking you, and not concerned with whether or not you liked him. How much of that was genetic and how much developed I can only speculate. All I know is that I was, in that brief moment of meeting, totally charmed by a person I neither agreed with nor even expected to like. These remarks are by professional speaker Mark Sanborn, commenting on meeting President Bill Clinton. When we refer to charm, we're not talking about table manners, good looks, or being a snappy dresser. We're talking about something much more profound. True charm is something that goes beyond mere appearance. It's that ability some people have to create extraordinary rapport that makes others in their presence feel exceptional. Charm has an engaging quality to which we respond powerfully and emotionally, almost instinctively. Nature or nurture? You might be saying to yourself, but you have to be born with charm, and if you're not, you're out of luck. We used to believe that too, but in all the many years that we have researched, experimented with, and taught the art and craft of person-to-person communication, we have found much evidence to the contrary. There's no question that some people are naturally charming, which gives them an advantage. But charm is not some mystical ingredient that is found in our genes. Charm is the result of using specific skills that most of us know little or nothing about. This means charm can be learned. In the pages ahead, you will learn how to become a completely charismatic person, exerting a magnetic attraction and influence on the people you meet. Your tools for charming others. From now on, think about charm as a personality quality and skill you can develop by doing the things that charming people do and being the kind of person that charming people are.
Chapter 2. Charm in action. Charm, a quality that exerts an irresistible power to please and attract. The dictionary. Ron Arden relates this personal story as a testament to the power of charm. It was back in the 70s that my awareness of the power of charm really took root. a friend of ours in Los Angeles phoned to invite my wife Nikki and me to a reception for Ivan Berold and his wife Marianne. They had recently arrived here from South Africa. Ivan, a handsome devil and a good actor and friend, is someone I had known during my theater days in South Africa. We arrived at their home that Saturday afternoon and joined the crowd in the garden. People were milling around the bar and, of course, Ivan and Marianne. We greeted each other warmly and then the four of us proceeded to fill up at the inviting buffet tables. Later that afternoon I saw Nikki and Ivan talking to each other, and I noticed that my dear, normally level-headed wife seemed entranced by him. I thought, what on earth is going on? She's behaving like a teeny bopper. An irrational pang of jealousy shot through me and I hurried over to join them. The power of fascination. Soon after, I said to Nikki, "What is so fascinating about Ivan that you looked mesmerized by him?" She thought for a moment and said, "When he speaks to you, it's as though you're in a cocoon with him. No one exists in the world for him but you. And when he listens as though every word you say is important and needs his undivided attention." When I thought about it, I realized she was absolutely right. Ever since I've known him, he has displayed that same quality when he's with anyone. He radiates charm continuously. That's why Ivan is very much a ladies' man and very much a man's man, too. A lifelong interest leads to these simple rules. Though this event happened more than 20 years ago, I remember it like it was yesterday. As my dear wife reminds me, my first deep interest in charm seemed to happen about then. And my interest grew. I set about studying and identifying the behaviors that all people of charm use. I questioned many of these individuals to get an idea of how they feel about their impact on others. One of the fascinating things I discovered was that those who charm get great pleasure in giving others pleasure. I set about reducing what I had learned into identifiable and manageable lessons, each lesson having its own set of simple rules and techniques that are easy to understand and just as easy to learn and to do. Tracy and I have successfully trained many others to use these skills, whether for professional or social reasons, and now you, too, can learn how to control the dynamics of your own impact on people. Once you discover how to wield the power of charm, you'll have at your disposal one of the most valuable elements for success: how to make people feel like a million. Your tools for charming others. Think of the most charming person you know. Observe the person's behavior. Try to identify what he does when being charming. Watch the effect it has on others and use what you observe and learn as motivation to become, in your own way, just like your model, charming, persuasive, and admirable.
Chapter 3. What charm can do. Charm is captivating. Just as the petals of a flower unfold and open to the warmth and light of the sun, so do we unfold and open to the enchantment of charm. Charm acts as the great attractor, drawing us toward its magnetic source. The Kosa, a 20th century wise woman. Those who have charm usually get listened to and often get extra chances. They are given opportunities others may never get. They can be forgiven for things others would be crucified for. They will be told things that others may never hear. People make excuses for them, go out of their way for them, and always give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's face it, you probably know someone who has reached you in a very compelling and profound fashion. If so, you've been on the receiving end of someone's charm offensive. Feeling like a million. At some time or another, we've all met someone who has the talent to sweep you away with their charm. They seemed to truly like you. They valued your opinion. They devoted all of their attention to you and nobody else. When they were with you, no one but you existed for them, no matter who else was around. They made you feel as though you were the most fascinating and important person they'd ever met. You totally suspended critical judgment for the pleasure of their company. Do you remember how wonderful you felt? I bet you felt like a million. Think what power there is in being able to make somebody feel wonderful about himself. It's unlimited. Great political leaders nurture it, successful business people cultivate it, and famous entertainers exploit it. Nearly everyone who deals with people can benefit from charm, and anyone wanting to climb the ladder to success should develop it. Anytime. Anywhere. What if you were able to create that special feeling for others anytime, anywhere? How valuable do you think that gift might be in your personal life and your business world? Absolutely priceless, believe me. When you have the power to make people feel special, the rewards are usually close behind. Your tools for charming others. Decide today that you are going to develop the power of charm and practice it in your relationships with others. This decision will open you to all the things you can do to make other people feel wonderful about themselves. Measure your current charm quotient. Give yourself a grade from 1 to 10 on how charming you believe you are already, with 10 being excellent. Then ask someone you know to grade you as well. Whatever number that person assigns to you is the true measure. Now you are ready to begin transforming yourself into a genuinely and powerfully charming person.
Chapter 4. How to charm anyone. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Lou Holtz. Psychologists tell us that the core of personality is self-esteem. This has best been defined as how much you like yourself. Your self-esteem is the sum total of how important and valuable you feel you are at any moment. Human beings are intensely emotional. They make decisions emotionally and then justify them logically. People are powerfully affected by their emotional environment, especially the behavior of other people toward them. From infancy, you are conditioned to be hypersensitive to the actions and reactions of your parents toward you. Often, the dynamics of these early exchanges set you up for life in your relationships with others. Almost everything you do involving others is either to bolster your self-esteem, your inner sense of well-being, or to protect it from being diminished by other people or circumstances. The secret of charm. The deepest craving of human nature is the need to feel valued and valuable. The secret of charm is therefore simple. Make others feel important. 5 ways to be charming. The more important you make people feel in your presence, the more charming they will perceive you to be. Fortunately, we know how to make people feel wonderful about themselves. These key behaviors can be summarized in the 5 as acceptance, appreciation, approval, admiration, and attention. 1. Acceptance. The greatest gift that you can give other people is the attitude of unconditional positive regard. That is, you accept them in their entirety without limitation. You never criticize or find fault. You are totally accepting of everything about them, as if they were a miracle of nature. This is the starting point of being charming. And how do you express complete acceptance? It is simple. You smile. When you smile with happiness at seeing people, their self-esteem jumps automatically. They feel happy about themselves. They feel important and valuable. And they like the person who is making them feel this way. They find you to be charming, even before you open your mouth. 2. Appreciation. Whenever you express appreciation to others for something they have done, small or large, their self-esteem increases. They feel more valuable and important. They feel more competent and capable. Their self-image improves and their self-respect soars. And how do you trigger this wonderful feeling in others? It is simple. You say thank you on every occasion, for any large or small reason. You make a habit of thanking everyone in your world for everything they do. Thank your secretary for her work. Thank your spouse for his help. Thank your children for anything they do that you appreciate. Here is the double payoff. Whenever you smile or say thank you to another person, not only does that person's self-esteem and feeling of importance jump, but so does yours. You actually like yourself more every time you do or say anything that causes other people to like themselves more. And the more you like yourself, the more you will genuinely like and care about others. The more you like yourself, the less concerned you will be about whether you are making a good impression, and the more naturally charming you will become. 3. Approval. It is said that babies cry for it, men die for it. Throughout life, all humans have a deep subconscious need for approval of their actions and accomplishments. No amount of approval ever satisfies for long. The need is ongoing, like the need for food and rest. People who continually seek opportunities to express approval are welcome wherever they go. Perhaps the best definition of approval is praise. This subject is so important that we will come back to it later. Just remember, whenever you praise other people for something they have done, their self-esteem is elevated. They feel wonderful about themselves, and they find you to be more interesting, perceptive, highly likable, and extremely charming. 4. Admiration. As Abraham Lincoln said, everybody likes a compliment. When you give people a genuine, sincere compliment about a trait, possession, or accomplishment, they automatically feel better about themselves. They feel acknowledged and recognized. They feel valuable and important. They like themselves more and they like you more. Compliment a person on an article of clothing. Compliment someone on a trait like punctuality or persistence. Compliment the person on having won an award or achieved a goal. Compliment for small things as well as large. Always be looking for something to compliment, and each time you find something, the other person will like you more and find you to be charming. 5. Attention. This is perhaps the most important quality of all, and will be the subject of several subsequent chapters. It is the most powerful behavior for building self-esteem and is the key to instant charm. When you pay close attention to other people, the more valuable and important they will feel they are, and the more they will like you. These are the 5 most powerful self-esteem building tools ever discovered. As you master them through practice, you will become one of the most charming and influential people in your social and professional circle. Your tools for charming others. The next time you meet your significant other or even someone you work with, conduct this exercise. Imagine that when you were young, you had a dear friend with whom you shared many of the important emotional experiences of your young life. But years passed and you lost touch. You had no idea where your friend had gone. One day, when you are walking down the street, or maybe you are at a social function, suddenly there he is. You are shocked, amazed, overwhelmed with a flood of memories and affection. Your whole face lights up, and all you can think is, "It's you!" Wow, you are so happy to see this person. You feel excited and delighted and grateful and emotional all at the same time. Now, the next time you meet a person or persons who are important to you, especially loved ones or dear friends, create this same feeling and act as if you are rediscovering them after a too long absence, as if you were declaring, "There you are." Treat these special people as if seeing them makes you incredibly happy. Smile and beam at them. Focus all your attention on them. Treat them as if they were the most important person in the world at this moment. No matter who they are, they will think that you are an incredibly charming person.
Chapter 5. The Magic of Listening. Rapt attention is the highest form of flattery. Dale Carnegie. Your ability to listen well in a social or business conversation can help you as much as any other skill you develop. One of the most important qualities of a leader is the ability to gather information by asking questions and listening closely to what people have to say. Daniel Goleman, author of Emotional Intelligence, concluded that your ability to connect emotionally with people, your EQ, is as vital to your success and perhaps even more so than your IQ. He defined the most important quality of EQ as empathy, or the ability to be aware of and sensitive to what people say and what they really mean. Howard Gardner of Harvard University has defined this quality as social intelligence, which, as we noted at the outset of this book, is the highest paid and most respected form of intelligence in our society. And fortunately, it can be learned just by becoming a good listener. For keys to effective listening, every book, article, or course on the subject ultimately comes to the same conclusion. There are 4 key elements of effective listening. If you can master them, your charm quotient will skyrocket immediately. 1. Listen attentively. Listen without interrupting. Listen in complete silence, as if there is nothing in the world that is more important to you at this moment than what the other person is saying. If someone wants to talk to you, especially at home, immediately discontinue all other activities and give that person your complete attention. Turn off the television, shut the book or newspaper, and focus single-mindedly on what the other person is saying. This behavior will be instantly recognized and appreciated, and will give you tremendous emotional power in the conversation. To listen as if you are transfixed by what the other person is saying, imagine that your eyes are sun lamps and you are giving the person's face a tan. When a person is intently listened to by another, he is affected biochemically. His brain releases endorphins, nature's happy drug, which makes him feel good about himself. His self-esteem goes up and he likes himself more. Above all, He likes and trusts you more by virtue of your listening attentively to him. The payoff is extraordinary. 2. Pause before replying. Rather than jumping in as soon as the other person takes a breath, pause for 3 to 5 seconds. Allow a silence to exist. Just relax. When you pause, 3 things happen, all of them good. First, you avoid interrupting the other person if he is just pausing to reorganize his thoughts before continuing. Second, by pausing, you tell the person that what he said was important and that you are considering it carefully. This reinforces the personal value of the speaker and causes him to see you as a more attractive and intelligent person. Third, you actually hear the person, not only what he said, but what he meant at a deeper level of mind. Try it once and see. 3. Question for clarification. Never assume that you know exactly what the person meant by what he said. Instead, help him to expand on his most recent remark by asking, "How do you mean?" or "What do you mean exactly?" Here is one of the most important rules of communication. The person who asks questions has control. The person answering the questions is controlled by the person asking them. When a person is speaking in answer to a question, fully 100% of his focus and attention is on what he is saying. He cannot think of anything else. He is totally controlled by the questioner. The trick to charming someone with this technique is to ask your questions thoughtfully. All great communicators know this and use it regularly. 4. Feed it back. Paraphrase it in your own words. This is the acid test of effective listening, the proof that you are really paying attention instead of engaging in the phony listening that is so common today. When a person finishes speaking, you pause and say something like, "So, you just did this, and then this happened, and then you decided to do that, right?" Only when the speaker confirms that's what he said and meant do you continue, either by asking another question or commenting on what has just been said. Why women are wonderful listeners. In general, women are excellent listeners already. When a woman communicates, according to MRI scans, fully 7 centers of her brain are involved. In men, it is only 2. Men often listen half-heartedly to women, especially if the television is on. That's because men can only process one sensory input at a time. They cannot, for example, both watch television and listen to someone else speaking, which women can do much more easily. The worst sin a man can commit with a woman in his life is not to listen to her when she is speaking. Every man has heard the woman accuse, angrily, "You're not listening to me." The typical male response is to quickly say, "Yes, I am." Then she has you. She folds her arms and asks demandingly, "All right, then. What did I just say?" It is only if he can feed it back to her with some accuracy that she knows for sure that he was really listening. For you to become a completely charming person, you must learn to master the techniques of listening, especially if you are a man. Developing this key skill will take discipline and determination at first, but it will become easy and automatic over time. Listening with a difference. Effective listening means listening with a difference. It's not the "lend me your ear and I'll tell you a story" type of listening. Rather, it's about convincing people you are totally involved in what is being said. Run on charming people by listening to them. I remember once watching a friend of mine who was the hostess of a party. She was chatting with great animation to someone unfamiliar to me. When he left, she crossed over to me and said, "Do you know Roger Pitt, that delightful man I was just talking to?" I didn't. Well, he's one of the most charming people I've ever met, and what a great conversationalist. Intelligent, articulate, and amusing. You must meet him. Inwardly, I smiled. A great conversationalist, intelligent, articulate, and amusing, she said. Well, while I was watching, he rarely seemed to utter more than a word or two, but he was, I noticed, a great listener. And in so being, he absolutely charmed his hostess. Your tools for charming others. Try these effective listening techniques: listening, pausing, asking thoughtful questions, and paraphrasing, one at a time. Begin by practicing attentive listening at home and at work. Make no attempt to interrupt. Just hang on the other person's every word. Practice controlling and directing the conversation by using these various techniques. You'll discover you can communicate more deeply with a person in a few minutes by asking questions and listening closely to the answers than you could in several weeks by talking all the time.
Chapter 6.
Charming a woman. If God made anything better than a girl, Dover thought, he sure kept it to himself. Nelson Algren, A Walk on the Wild Side. Men and women are different, in ways other than the obvious. One of the most important applications of charm is to be sensitive and attractive to the women in your world. Women love men who are charming. They want to be with them constantly. To be charming to women, you have to understand how they think and feel. You must then say and do the things that affect them emotionally if you want them to like you. Most women's primary source of personal value and self-esteem comes from the quality of their relationships with the important people in their lives. They place an even higher emphasis than men on outward appearance and on how well they are perceived and treated by others. 3 deep needs of every woman. The most powerful and important emotional needs of most women are affection, attention, and respect. They judge other people by their caring and concern for them, and by their confidence and competence in the world. They can see past external appearances and look into the heart of the person they are talking to. The way to charm a woman is by being totally, 100% captivated by her as a person, and by every word she says, without interrupting or stopping her flow of conversation. Just as 2 young people in love sit and look into each other's eyes, so should you allow yourself to be completely, totally fascinated by the woman you are talking to and whom you want to charm. Talk less, listen more. A comedian once said, "I love going to my therapist. I get to talk non-stop about myself for an hour, just like a man on a first date." This is all too true. Instead, the next time you are with a woman you care about, resist the overwhelming temptation to talk about yourself as if your day was the most fascinating event since Jesus walked the earth. Rather, ask her questions about herself and her day, about her life and her concerns, and then listen quietly and attentively to the answers. She will find you to be charming. Brian on listening and questioning. Some years ago, when I was a bachelor, I took an attractive young woman out to dinner. Throughout the dinner, I asked her questions about herself. At a certain point, she opened up and told me about a particularly sad thing that had happened to her. I was so moved by her pain at recalling the event that I winced. "I'm so sorry that happened to you," I said. And I really meant it. We sat there silently for a couple of minutes while I held her hand and allowed her to just relax in my presence, with no comment. It was the beginning of a fulfilling relationship. My genuine concern for her feelings and her experience created a powerful bond between us. To impress or to be impressed? When you are with a woman you want to charm, instead of talking about yourself and trying to impress her, be impressed by her. Ask her questions and talk to her about her hopes and concerns, her background, her goals and desires. Talk and listen as if you find her to be the most fascinating person you ever met. The more you are impressed by her ideas and opinions, her character and personality, the more impressed she will be with you. She will find you to be absolutely charming. Your tools for charming others. Select a woman in your life, at work or at home, and imagine that she is the most interesting and fascinating person you have ever met. Treat her with extreme courtesy and respect. Hang on her every word. Ask questions and listen closely to the answers. See how long you can encourage her to speak without interrupting or talking about yourself. The next time you meet a woman you like, practice Chapter 7, the same skills of acceptance, appreciation, and approval. Ask her about her work and personal life, and find something to be impressed about, or even to be amazed by. The wonder of these behaviors is that the more you practice them, the more interesting and fascinating you will truly find her to be. And she will think of you as being unusually charming.
Chapter 7. Charming a man. There are 3 classes of men: lovers of wisdom, lovers of honor, lovers of gain. Plato. Men are suckers for charm, like putty in your hands. From long experience, women are often suspicious of a man who is trying to be charming, knowing that he, being a man, may have ulterior motives. Men, on the other hand, are much more open to being charmed if you do it right. Men get their greatest sense of value and importance from achievement, status, and the respect of the key people in their worlds. Men are driven and motivated to bring home the bacon and provide for themselves and their families. This is central to their self-image and identity. Some men can never rest. No matter how much they have accomplished, they feel insecure. They feel as if they must accomplish more. Men have what psychologists call insecurity of status. Many of them have a deep down, unspoken fear that everything they have accomplished could be taken away from them at any moment. They must continually achieve more and more, no matter what they have accomplished in the past. The key to charming a man is simple. Ask him questions and appreciate him for his achievements. Acknowledge and recognize him for his work and accomplishments. Be impressed with what he is doing and what he has done. He will find you fascinating. Brian on praising accomplishments. When my son Michael was about 5, he came home one day from Montessori school with a happy look on his face. I asked him, "How was school today?" He beamed at me and replied, "My teacher told me that she was really proud of me." He then repeated, as if it was very important, "She was really proud of me." I immediately recognized that the teacher had hit an emotional chord in Michael that I could strike as well. From that day forward, I have continually told my children, "I am really proud of you," whenever they did anything worthwhile. Every time I said these words, I saw how it elevated their self-esteem and sense of personal value. As a busy professional speaker, I meet thousands of people each year. Whenever someone tells me about something he has accomplished, I say something like, "You must be very proud of that." Men, especially, are deeply affected when people they respect tell them how proud they are of some achievement. They find it both moving and charming. What men need. Men are charmed when you appreciate that they are capable of succeeding and providing. When a woman smiles at a man, it makes him happy, reinforcing his self-esteem and making him feel more secure. Any expression of praise, approval, or admiration for his accomplishments warms his heart and causes him to see you as a remarkably perceptive person. When a woman lavishes attention on a man as he talks and explains his work and career path, practicing all the listening skills she has learned in this book, he will find her absolutely fascinating. You often see an ordinary-looking woman with a good-looking, successful man and say, "I wonder what he sees in her?" The answer is, what she sees in him. When a woman looks into a man's eyes and sees a valuable and important person, he finds her irresistible. He is absolutely charmed. Your tools for charming others. Select any man in your life and ask him a simple question like, "How is everything going at work?" When he answers, lean forward and pay close attention, as if his response was absolutely fascinating. When he slows down or stops speaking, which he will to test whether you are really interested, follow up with one of these questions. "What happened then?" or "What did you do, say, then?" He will almost immediately begin speaking again, which gives you more of an opportunity to listen and appreciate his accomplishments. Chapter 8. Charming from the inside out and from the outside in. The fundamental rule of the age of celebrity: it doesn't matter what you are, it only matters what people think you are. Lance Morrow. Now that you know the basics of charming people, of affecting them at a deep emotional level, let's look at the reasons why charm works so that you can better practice the techniques in this book to become even better at getting your own sweet way. In the theater, there are two core approaches to acting. The American approach, which is referred to as inside out, and the European approach, which is outside in. Using the American method, actors begin the work of creating a character in a play from a psychological point of view. They search for personal qualities inside themselves that are similar to those of the character. Using those similarities, the actor builds outward, layer upon layer, to create all the attitudes and behaviors of the person he or she will eventually portray. One drawback of this approach: actors are forced to spend a great deal of time convincing themselves with no guarantees they will convince others. In the self-improvement arena, there are many inside-out equivalents, We are encouraged to look inside ourselves for the sources of our behaviors and understand why we do and say what we do. The belief is that by changing the way we think on the inside, we will change the way we act on the outside. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The European approach. When building a character using the European approach, actors begin by creating the outward behaviors of the characters they will play. They first imagine the way the characters would walk, talk, and behave. Then the actor moves inward, layer by layer, developing the psychological reasons for the behaviors of the person being played. This device is also used in the self-improvement arena. By changing our external behaviors, we can influence what others feel and also what we feel inside. For instance, if you behave as though you are happy or excited, you will probably convince others that you are happy and excited, but an added bonus is that you, too, will begin to feel happy or excited. The Power of Charm has been written as an outside-in book. In it, we deal with how you can change your external behavior by developing and using certain skills that give you control of the personal image that you want others to see. We let your inner dynamics take care of themselves. Ron on an unexpected transformation. An old friend of ours, let's call her Miriam, came to visit us to apologize for her outburst at dinner a few nights before. Her mood swings and eruptions were legendary. She mentioned that she had been seeing the same psychiatrist for 7 years. 7 years, echoed my wife Nikki. That's an awfully long time to stay with any shrink. Tell me, after all that time, do you think you've got your money's worth? I asked, which provoked an icy glare from my wife. Well, Miriam thought for a moment, yes and no. I understand why I behave the way I do, but I still can't really control myself. So I've been wondering about that, whether all the time and money has been worth it. She seemed quite dejected and defeated as she sat there. Nikki said, "Have you ever thought about changing to another therapist? We know a psychologist who specializes in behavioral problems. Would you be willing to have a chat with him? He might be able to help." Miriam was quiet for a while, then said, "I may as well," and she sighed, "I've nothing to lose." We didn't hear from or see her for some time. Then one evening she called. I answered the phone. "Hello, Ron, this is Miriam." "Miriam, how are you?" "Coming along fine," she replied. "What happened with the psychologist?" I asked. "Did you ever call him?" "Yes, I did," she said. "I've been seeing him for a few weeks now, and there's already quite a difference. What's interesting is that he really doesn't bother too much about why I do things. He mostly concentrates on how I can behave differently." We saw Miriam at a dinner party a couple of months later, and the change was astonishing. The kind of things that would have had her pounding the table or going mano a mano with anyone who contradicted her were now ignored. She was a pleasure to be with. When we commented on the change, she told us, "It's not only that I can control my behavior no matter what's going on inside me, but I don't get as agitated as I used to. I've learned that changing my behavior reduces my agitation." Concentrate on behavior. Miriam's story is a confirmation of the difference between inside out and outside in as it applied to everyday life. It's a fact, knowing why you're doing things does not automatically mean that you know how to change them. If you really want change, worry less about the why and concentrate more on the how. It is often easier and faster for us to change from the outside than to change from the inside. Behavior is everything. To go back to the example at the beginning of Chapter 1, do you think that Bill Clinton was genuinely interested in Mark Sanborn, or was his warmth, his utter in-the-moment focus, a cultivated behavior? And does it really matter? Regardless of what's going on in your head, what you are ultimately judged by is your behavior. If you behave as though you hate, then you hate. If you behave as though you love, then you love. If you behave as though you care, you care. People will react based on how they perceive us to behave, no matter what our inner agendas may be. your tools for charming others. Don't worry so much about changing the way you think and feel inside, because it may take a long time to show any improvement or results. Instead, concentrate on behaving exactly as if you were already a charming person. Create a mental image of yourself as absolutely charming on the inside, and then act accordingly on the outside. Select someone you feel is already charming and think about how that person treats others in conversation. Try to do the same things that person does when you talk to others.
Chapter 9. The Power of Attention. Our companions please us less from the charms we find in their conversation than from those they find in ours. Full Greville. Here is a scenario that I'm sure is familiar to most everyone, particularly at the breakfast or dinner table. It sounds something like this. She, you aren't listening to me. He, yes I am. She, no you're not. He, I tell you I am. She, I'm telling you you're not. He, I am. I can repeat every damn word you said. She, I don't give a damn if you can. You aren't listening to me. What she is really telling him is that even if he has 100% recall, he is failing to convince her that he is giving her his undivided attention. Undivided attention. Charm requires undivided attention, especially when listening. Unless you're at a lecture, remembering what someone says is only a part of listening. If your attitude seems to be saying, I don't care enough to bother to react to you, if nothing in your behavior confirms you are listening, you are being a lousy listener. If there aren't any signals coming from you that say you're paying attention, you aren't listening. Good relationships, whether social or professional, are built on many qualities, but nothing is as important as being perceived as being an empathetic listener. The better listener you are, the more valuable you are in any relationship. But how do we know if somebody is listening with complete attention? You do what great listeners do, you signal that you are listening. Your behavior and body language should say, I am totally focused on what you are saying, every word you utter is of extreme importance to me. Those who send this signal are termed attentive listeners. Those who don't are called inattentive listeners. Give acknowledgments and assurances. We refer to these signals as acknowledgments and reassurances. Attentive listeners use them to acknowledge the other person's presence and reassure them they are totally involved in the act of listening. Attentive listeners project that in-the-moment focus that makes people feel special and important. The more of these signals you practice, the more charming you will appear. Your tools for charming others. The next time you are conversing with someone, make a special effort to acknowledge and reassure that person that you are fully engaged in the conversation and involved in what he is saying. Face the person directly and concentrate on his words. Act as if this is the last time you will ever see him. Learn how to signal to the person that you are paying attention.